Have you started Chainsaw Man yet? I've been on this series since the first chapter came out last year in December, and I've been trying to get as many people to look into it as much as possible. That and Jujutsu Kaisen. Chainsaw Man, from what I've seen, like Jujutsu Kaisen has picked up a lot more for Japan, but Chainsaw Man seems to be doing really well with a lot of audiences. Anybody who touches it over in the West that I see enjoys it. Obviously, it's got to be doing good in Japan. For one, the amount of fan art I see of it with by Japanese people, but at the same time, also it's got to be doing well enough that it's still going. You're gonna break that year mark. But about the series, there was one character I think demonic fits the most because we see him the most, and he's the most vicious guy that we've so far seen in the series. I'm not counting the Gun Devil because we haven't seen him technically. Oh, we haven't really seen him, but we know his existence and whatnot. But the main character, Denji is the Chainsaw Man. He is the character who holds the pretty much information of the title. So what is there really about this character if you've never touched Chainsaw Man, but you've, probably seen some people talk about it online. I mean, that boss Fujimoto's art. But the premise, just looking at the very start, you have this main character, Denji, who's, he sold parts of his body, he works all day, every day, and he barely sleeps, barely gets enough time for food, never educated, so he's very malnourished. He's not the brightest guy. For him versus like a lot of, that kind of like main characters are shown in aren't very smart trait. I would say with Denji, his is more of like uneducated because as far as we know that he's not stupid. I mean, he's definitely not the smartest guy, but I feel like it's more the fact that he never got schooled. He's uneducated. It's completely different. It just means he hasn't got the chance yet. I doubt he's going to go back and do it now with this kind of attitude. But during this time, while he was working, well, not really while he was working. He used it for working. I was going to explain it the way the series kind of begins. But at his father's funeral, after his dad killed himself, he ends up running into Pochita, who is this little devil that he ended up kind of giving some of his blood because the devils in their series. And I know it's devil and the theme is demonic, but I feel like nobody's going to complain about that point. Just let it pass. This is October. It's a spooky month. We got to do spooky characters. I mean, Denji's terrifying if you actually saw like him in action because when you read it, you got to keep in mind who he is. But Denji ends up running this little chainsaw-looking puppy, and he heals him up, gives some of his blood, and later in the series, I'm just going to give some of the premise. And in Chapter 1, when Denji gets all messed up himself, Vegeta decides to return the favor, and in exchange from a contract with the devil, he says, he's going to give him another life, he's going to give him his powers, but in exchange, he has to show him his dreams. Like, Pochita wants Denji to achieve, what dreams and goals he has to, hide after. And no! This isn't like I want to be Hokage, I want to be number one hero, I want to be Pirate King, I want to be Magic Emperor. Denji's first goal was to feel some titties. His new goal is to go on like an actual like romantic date with this girl, probably get laid. But his character, he is a very like naturally understandable. I think a lot of guys like can resonate with Denji. He's got a lot of awkward scenes. He just wants to get in there and enjoy himself. He's still got like some aspects. He's looking, he's looking for some of them girls. But I think the thing that about his character that I find very intriguing, because with Chainsaw Man, like the whole main cast, you have like pretty much four characters that you can call the main cast, and I use that loosely because in Chainsaw Man, the characters tend to not live there long. You have the main character Denji. You have the female lead Power, who her whole thing is she's very confident of herself, but I mean, a lot of other things. She's also like a thief and a open racist, but her thing, she's insecure. She's always trying to like talk about how intelligent and great she is. But, then you get, well, we've seen glimpses of it. It's not like we got our own like full back arc of it. But then you have someone like, Aki, who I'd say at the current moment is the best written character in the series. You have Makima, who is the most mysterious person in the series, so I wonder if she's going to be a villain. And then you have Denji, the main character. And when you look at a main character, you're supposed to get a lot of, about them in the first chapter. Obviously, you're going to want to establish a lot of things in the first chapter to get people interested in the series. And you have here's my goals. You get, the character's power. You find out, certain, traits, personality aspects of them, the way that they act and such. Denji, though, for a lot of who he was, starting out, he was a blank slate. There's obviously his craziness when he's in his Chainsaw Man form, but just like him, who he is, he doesn't have a lot of like aspects to him that really would define him as a person. I mean, the only thing really early in the series that you can look at is like his whole thing about debt. Because the reason he had to work so much is his dad was like in a huge debt with the mafia, who's a gang group, whatever. He ended up killing himself because he couldn't bear with doing it, and then Denji had to take up the responsibility. And during all of this, like Denji pretty much just grew up years just working every day. He never really had any form of time to become his own guy. So when the series started, like other than the fact that we know that he wanted to save Pochita because it reminded him of his dad dying, and that was about it for a while. Like he's a fun character, but there wasn't a whole lot to really kind of like define him who he is. There was a really good part in the whole Eternity Devil arc, little mini arc, where he's not like a nice guy, Denji. I mean, there's a part where he's fighting this bat guy right here, and the bat dude throws a car at him. Denji catches it. There's a dude inside, and it's like, oh yeah, you did a good thing. Nope, he throws the car with the guy in it back at him. Denji's like, I mean, he's pretty much an anti-hero, and he doesn't. He's not like, oh, I'm all around nice guy. It really depends on how he feels if he's gonna just straight help someone out of the kindness of his quote unquote heart. But as the series is, like he got in debt to somebody, and obviously debt is what led to the death of his father, led to him kind of growing up without really a childhood or doing anything fun. It was all just awful work every day. So the second he ended up getting debt to somebody, he's like, all right, I gotta pay him back. I don't want to hold debts. I just want to, anybody who ends up doing something for me, I gotta do something for them. And then there's still some other like nice traits to him. I mean, I say like there's some nice traits to him, and it's what I'm talking about, like things developed, like him getting a lot more confidence in his capabilities, but in like reality of actual training when he fought, I'm always forgetting to pronounce his name, Shibe, the guy who trained him in power, but he has himself, like the whole kind of like thing about him is he seems pretty optimistic, pretty like with his character, like with his personality, even like dire situations. He's like, they'll be like, yeah, we're sending all these monsters and whatnot, and he'll be like, all right, cool, grab that chest cord on him, pull it, and grow some chainsaw blades. Then you have something like when he was talking to the Katana Devil, and the guy was talking about like, oh yeah, even if there were zombies, they were still once humans, so I had some issues with killing them and then dealing with it afterwards. And Denji's like, none of that bothers me. None of that bothers me at all. Because one of the things he realized at the, not too long ago in the story is like, he's like, if these people end up dying, will I really care? And he was starting to question whether or not he was still really human. It's kind of like, like in Parasite, that side of him was taking over. That's kind of like what happens with Denji, because we know at least one thing about these things that, where people just been calling them devil men. But in Chainsaw Man, there are humans and devils, and there are devils that have taken over a human body. They're fiends, or devil men, and I've seen some of the translation. But what Denji is Denji seems to be a human with a demon's heart, or devil, rather, sorry. And that's caused him all these powers, because, like, he could get, like, cut in half. He could get, like, his whole, like, torso blown wide open. Seemingly, as long as his heart still exists, like, his heart is, unsmashed, he should be able to kind of like heal up and regenerate. That's an assumption because there's been some comments about the heart aspect of him. It's specific that one of the guys looking for Denji, not really for Denji, but the chainsaw's powers. He's looking specifically for the heart of the Chainsaw Devil. So I mean it's an interesting thing because it also lined up with the Katana Devil. And I'm trying not to get too many spoilers, but just line that up with it. It followed into the other guy with a similar kind of like outcome of power that Denji has. I'm very intrigued with Denji. I really want to see more about him in the future, like more developments for him and more alterations, essentially, of like his base character. I want him to always feel like Denji, but I want him to learn some lessons, gain some notches along the way, life experiences as well as wisdom other people have told to him. But at the moment, really, he's with some spooky girl. Hopefully she's safe, and then some dude's coming to skin some fellas. But yeah, like I said, the thing is, I really like shonen. I really like shonen action battle stuff. I think it's fun. I really fall for the characters as well, especially when they're weekly. You get way more of them more often. But I can understand where some people would come from. They're like, some of these shonens just follow like similar things. Obviously, they're gonna have their own handlings of them, but like certain traits for tournament arcs. No one ever gets bored of tournament arcs. Although every single shonen battle series needs at least one tournament arc. But Fujimoto, the guy who writes Chainsaw Man, did a series called Fire Punch. He was actually a sending writer, and then somehow got a job at Weekly Shonen Jump doing a weekly shonen series. So you can only imagine like him versus Thor Rocket and like another big shonen person, like Oda. Look at someone like Horikoshi or Tabata over at Weekly Shonen Jump, and really like the tones in Chainsaw Man and any of the other manga in it are very different. Like Chainsaw Man is full up going into some crazy gore. Like it pretty much seems like it wants to push whatever boundaries it can in order to still be shonen, but feel as far away from a shonen as possible. But like I said, the author, I can't predict it because of that. Like you can get kind of a tone of what authors are like as you're reading their series, and kind of get a feel of what they're planning or what doing in a situation. Like you get some area and you're like, okay, I can kind of figure out based on the author how he's gonna solve this YZ. With Chainsaw Man, it's very weird. You can't really predict the chapters because the author is so strange. The one of the series is so strange. I mean, you really never really know where things are gonna go. I mean, you start the series, even if you got to a point where I said, yeah, the main character throws cars with people at giant monster, I'm gonna be like, that doesn't sound anything like show main character. That barely sounds like a sending main character. That just sounds like a jerk. I mean, Denji kind of can be at the time, but other than that, comment below. Tell me what you thought about this. Again, I'm repping Chainsaw Man since chapter 1. More people need to get on it. It's an excellent series. It's really fun. I think a lot of people just kind of like pretend, like from probably what the panels they've seen online, I think it's just kind of like gore and action. There's obviously a lot of gore and action, but the author has done like a lot of really interesting character aspects and traits, and pretty good development and story backwriting already. Like Aki, again, Aki has an amazing character kind of like build already. He's got a really nice background story. Well, I won't say amazing yet. Pretty good. Really, I'd say I'll go with pretty good because I feel like that's fairly good, but not really good. I mean, he's definitely got the best story in the series by far. I don't want to ruin it because like it's a lot of fun when you get to his part of the story where you find out aspects about him and then where he goes in it. But other than that, comment below. I know I just talked about something not Denji for a moment about it in the Denji video. But anyway, yeah, check out the series. Like it's really good. It's fun. And all around will just keep you entertained. The art is really nice. What's weird is the author is kind of like weird when it comes to drawing people, but like terrain, like buildings, monsters, like he's great at it. I don't know. Maybe he just spends more time trying to draw sick monsters. Other than that, comment below, thumbs up the video, friend the like button and subscribe button. Check out my other videos and read Chainsaw Man. But other than that, thank everyone for listening. Bye.